Hey everyone, it's Coach Dave March here, and we're here for another episode of the Growth Mindset podcast. Here to grow minds, grow businesses, and to lead us forward in our leadership adventures together. Today we have a very special guest, Sally Davies, and Sally is a partner at Smart Play Advisors, and she's here to share her leadership tips and here to help us grow our minds. Sally, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Dave. Really appreciate it. I've been in the online casino and sports betting world for about 17 years. I am an agency owner with four other colleagues and partners, Smart Play Advisors, and we go into lots of businesses and we help them in all and every area that they would need to grow their revenue, grow their teams, and we mainly work with leadership within those businesses.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, leadership is a hot topic, I think, right now. Um, it's unfortunate we don't get enough good leadership information from our media. If you're watching movies, typically, you look at Star Wars, for example. You have your Darth Vader. He pushes people. He does like the throat choke thing.
Yep, that's a
Uh,
bit scary. Yep.
yeah, it's a bit scary, right? And so most people are kind of leading uh, in one way or another through a fear or through intimidation or through like prowess, like Darth Vader does. Um, but talk to me about how you see some of the trends going on right now in leadership and what you're seeing in the marketplace, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. There are two types of leaders that I come into contact with. There are leaders that have fear of being replaced or are driving with ego and they feel like they need to be the smartest person in the room. And I seem to feel that those leaders tend to negatively lead or have negative impacts on their team. And then there's the other type of leader that I think really grows and expands their businesses alongside growing the people that work for them and developing. Those people do not lead with fear. They lead with encouragement. They are vulnerable. They show their weaknesses and they don't expect to be the smartest person in the room. The best leaders surround themselves with more intelligent people or people that are more skilled experts. I've worked with tech people, developers. I do not know what they know. And you allow everybody to shine. And honestly, it's surrounding yourself with people that actually meet your weaknesses. That's truly the best leadership in my view.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. Um, and it's like the idea of vulnerability seems so scary to people,
Yeah,
and they don't do it typically, I think. And for one reason or another, I mean, every time I hear of vulnerability, I always think of Brene Brown's books.
oh yeah.
Bre- She's got so many good books. Uh, so when it comes to leadership, is there a particular process that you go with your clients, or is there certain philosophy that you typically push forward with?
Absolutely. And it's relationship building. So the awkward thing about my role is I am only brought in when a business is somewhat failing an area or they need to massively grow in an area which they feel they don't have the right talent or the right knowledge. So usually I'm hired by somebody's boss to come in, and how they've communicated my entrance into that business could be, we're bringing in this consultant because you're failing. So generally, I walk into an environment that can be quite hostile. So the first thing I need to do is win over the trust of the team. I have to make it apparent that I'm there to help them, not hinder them. I'm there to support them and grow them, to pass along knowledge. And many consultants in my industry want to go in and have incredibly long term contracts. So there is somewhat of a small benefit to not sharing the secret sauce. I disagree with that. I want to come in and leave you better than I found you. And I want to give the knowledge and I want to grow people. And I would rather have 10 clients for just a year than be with somebody for 10 years because I haven't got them to a place where they can run without me. It's all about making people sufficient on their own. One of my favorite things is coaching people. So quite often I come in and I work with a manager or an exec level. And by the time I leave, they will have moved into a directorship or another role, which has allowed them to really start taking the reins and leading. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. So you're actually helping the people there to um, mobilize internally to a higher level. Is that right?
Yeah, that makes my life easier because I'm just one person and I'm brought in to sometimes completely redevelop a strategy in marketing, for example. And when I get there, sometimes people are not speaking the same language as me as far as terminology. They might have a completely different understanding of how we accomplish a goal. I'm retraining brains on how to come at things with solutions and, a resolution to growing a business. I get met with a lot of resistance because people generally get nervous around change, and our egos tell us, "I've been doing it this way for 6 months, and this stranger has come in and told me we're going to try it another way." And that makes
That's
me
so
very,
true.
very uncomfortable. And it
That's
also
so
makes
true.
me think that maybe I've been doing something wrong. I think the first thing in leadership is you don't make somebody feel like they've been doing something wrong.
Hmm.
It's how you communicate change. And the first thing I try and do is make people genuinely excited about coming in to a new environment and doing their job in a different way because it gets very boring sitting in an office job doing the same things the same way over and over again, right?
So true. Yeah, so
Yeah,
true. And one of the things I like to talk about, and one of the things I get passionate about, is working with different personality types. I
yeah.
think that it's I don't know, for me, when I was maybe 20 years ago, I don't even know now, but when I first got interested in it when I was knocking doors. I used to knock door to door.
I've done a few of
Um,
those roles
yeah,
back in the day.
when I was really young, and that was really interesting to me because I always thought it was so like interesting, really, to see such differences in people. You get in one door and there's one type personality, and then another door is a completely different personality. And then when you're in a leadership capacity, working within a company, you're working with all the different type of personalities to create the most high performing team. So I'd like to see if you have any ideas or can talk about that as well.
There's a couple of things there, and I actually did a very, very good course on this. I was lucky enough to work for a company called Gamesys, and they had a huge department for development and training, and they really invested in their people. They sent over somebody that got us to do all these psychological tests. We were a management group. There's quite a lot of friction
Yeah.
in that management group. And
Hmm.
we've started to put ourselves into boxes. There were some people that were more analytical, some people were more creative, some were outspoken, some were introverts, some were extroverts. And what we were doing, we were working as a team and we were all trying to do each other's job and we were all trying to be amazing at everything instead of dividing and conquering and actually leaning into our personality traits. There were
Hmm.
some people that were just incredibly analytical, so they
Hmm.
were thriving in these analytical projects. I am a very creative person, and so creative people and analytical people sometimes bash heads together on ideas and concepts because creative people want to come up with a million ideas to find the one idea that's going to be the winner and be a game changer. Analytical people don't want to listen to 100 creative ideas. So the first thing
Hmm.
I do when I go into businesses is I've had enough experience at now understanding if I have a one-to-one with everybody I'm working with, I can understand your personality set. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert, etc.? How do
Hmm.
you like to communicate? Have you got really, really amazing ideas, but you never get to speak in a meeting because the two extroverts talk over everybody, right?
Hmm.
It's about
Hmm.
understanding the skill set and then the personality. And what I do see in leadership is a lot of people are passed over.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's the loudest person with the best PR skills that gets the top job.
Oh
And
yeah.
actually, the incredibly skilled person that is very thoughtful and considered and measured in their approach, they don't get leadership
So
roles.
true, right? So
Yeah,
true. It's crazy how it's true. It's crazy
yeah.
because the the thing is, a lot of people think that competency is going to get you to the next level because you know the most, you're very thoughtful, you're skilled and everything. But unfortunately, it's not the case. Like you're saying, it's
And
yeah.
actually, we did a huge amount of training between becoming a manager and becoming a director, for the reason being that managing takes a different skill set to leadership.
Oh
And
yeah.
my coach used to ask me constantly, what's the difference between a manager and a leader? And
Mm.
I really struggled, and I didn't get it for such a long time. And we did a phenomenal course where we listened to inspirational speeches, MLK. We listened to some Obama speeches, for example. It was how people get people to follow them, just to follow them into the future. And it's about storytelling, because managing is about saying, today, guys, we have to hit these 3 or 4 tasks. And if we don't, we're not going to hit our objectives. Leadership is maybe less managing a process and actions, but what you're doing is you're creating a strategy and you're convincing everybody it's a great idea and they've got to follow you. And it's more of that's where it comes down to personalities. You have to be
Mm.
able to influence, build trust, because there are times where you're going to ask your people to do things for you and they might be confused or not totally get it. But if they believe in you as a leader, they will follow because they know you have their back and they trust you. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. No, 100%. I somehow I work with a lot of people in the military. I don't know how it
Uh,
happens, but I work with a lot of people in the military, and that's one of the big things too is leadership, of course. Um, and you really have to be someone that others want to follow. And it's some people just don't have the heart for that. I mean, you have to have the heart for it, and I think to a certain extent, there's some creativity in there. There's some creativity. Not that all leaders are creative, but you have to be creative about the type of ways you're going to work with these people to get them all involved.
I
Yeah.
think you have to have a high degree of emotional intellect, because if you cannot actually connect with human beings, like on a personal level, I
Yeah.
think the leadership goes really awry. I have unfortunately worked with some terrible leaders that yell at people to get what they
Oh,
want. They
yeah.
can be managing by fear of people being fired or losing their job. And it's the same as parenting. If your children are genuinely afraid of you, they tend to not share information with you. You tend to not know a lot of what's going on in their life through fear of retribution, right? So it's exactly the same as leading a pack of people in a business, right? If you make them afraid of you, they're not going to tell you the truth. You're not really going to know what's going on in your business. They're not going to
Yeah.
come into your office and tell you when a terrible mistake's been made. They're going to cover it up and try
This
their
is
best for you not to
yeah.
get not to
Yeah.
hear about it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect segue into psychological safety. Uh,
Yes. Yes. That's a great topic.
Yeah, perfect segue. And so yeah, that's what I love to talk about. And and I had another guy on here, Ben, talked about psychological safety as well. Here's like his main piece, but I think that it's so important. If you're ruling by that fear and everything that you're saying there, and you're scared to make a mistake and scared to get out of line, not in compliance with whatever that particular person is saying, you're not going to tell them they're wrong when they they're wrong, and you need to change course.
Absolutely. I always call it upward management. Um, I think you need to instill it in the people that work for you how to manage you. One of the first things I would say when I come in as a leader is I say, be honest with me. And I'm never going to be aggressive with you for you making a mistake because we're humans and we make mistakes. You need to upwardly manage. It's your responsibility to know what to share, what to collaborate on, how to be open, have confidence in communicating with leadership. And if you ask that of your team, you have to respond with empathy, kindness, listen, slow down, take time out. Leaders are usually very, very busy, incredibly good at giving that short, peppy, inspirational speech. They say things like, I've always got an open door policy, come to me with anything, but they don't actually mean it because I've actually seen in my working world leaders saying that and then younger people going, oh, okay, so I can go and talk to these guys about anything at any time. And then they go and do it, and they're met with pretty negative
Yeah, they're
responses.
pissed off. Why did you come in
Yeah.
here?
Why did you
But
come in my office? I've got back to backs. What are you doing here? And then when they speak up, something that's incredibly important to them is probably lower than the lowest priority on the leader's agenda that day. And I think there's what people genuinely miss is that person isn't walking into your office just because of that particular item. They're walking in your office because the talent that you may have paid a recruitment person for, invested a huge amount of money in training, they're coming to your office because something isn't okay in their environment. And people quite often forget how much money it costs you to get an employee to the point of being productive. Recruitment, training, mentorship, courses, they're an asset and they're an expensive asset. And you should be mindful how you treat. It's like you wouldn't buy a Ferrari and then put the wrong fuel in it and drive it like in the wrong gear. Like you'd say, this is a very precious thing that I'm driving. I'm going to look after it. We don't treat our people like they're precious. We treat them like they're a commodity we can throw in and throw out as we please. And I think that there needs to be a little bit more empathy in leadership at times.
Sally, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, Sally.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, 100%. These are all the ideas that I 100% agree with. And it's so important. Um, you know, I don't think that there's enough heart, going into this stuff. And it's interesting to me the whole idea of AI and that sort of thing because as we kind of go into this more or less robotic state with the AI,
Mm.
what I think it will eventually, I don't know about now, but eventually it's going to bring up the fact that we're human beings and we need to strengthen our soft skills more than anything because now these really really like technical skills can be sent over to AIs and such.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can use AI to do coding if you wanted to, but I mean it still cannot connect human to human like you're talking about with empathy.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so yeah, I'm curious about what your thoughts are on that because I feel like you would have some good ideas and good thoughts around that.
I love AI because in the world of marketing, it's allowing us to be, it's allowing us to work quickly. It allows us to do so much more in one day than you would normally do. As a consultant, I'm continually um, writing marketing materials, copy, strategies. It allows me to adapt. And so when I come into businesses, often nobody's using AI, and that's one of my recommendations. But I think with great power comes great responsibility. So I actually teach people how to use it because quite often it makes people lazy. It makes them not really think through a process. They don't use
Hmm.
AI to learn, they just use AI to replace. And I think a part of leadership is bringing any tooling you bring into your business to make your area more efficient, which is now leading all towards AI. Be careful how you onboard it, be careful how you train people, and don't let it replace the human to human element meetings. If you have a monthly all hands on meeting where everybody gets in the room and represents their area, don't replace that with an automated AI presentation that goes around each month.
Yeah.
Keep the
Yeah.
human to
So,
human
yeah,
contact. Yeah.
100%. So, just to kind of get to the point there, you can't get your AI to replace your leadership.
I don't think you should. I was just reading a study about AI being used in schools in Japan and how the scores, the test scores in those classrooms are actually better, but they have a teacher in the room facilitating the AI
Hmm.
because and I was just speaking to a friend of mine who's a teacher, and they said having these tools are incredible because humans do have errors, and AI is
Of course.
it's an amazing tool for humans to use to make sure our accuracy is better. However, it cannot replace empathy. It cannot make another human being feel safe in a group environment or a collaborative environment. It doesn't have social cues. Body language, I've read a few books on body language. It's incredibly important when you're dealing with other leaders and people that may be in their first day on the job versus they've been there 17, 18 years on the job. Body language and how we communicate, you cannot replace it. I don't
Agreed.
believe. Yeah.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And wow, I think that there's been so much good stuff in this episode so far. I don't know if we can pack any more insights into this one.
No
um,
worries.
Yeah, this has been great. But I'd like to have the audience know how to contact you. If there's a website or
Sure.
if there's some information there,
Yeah.
please let us know.
Yeah, well, we're just smartplayadvisors.com. There's a group of industry veterans that have been working together for years. Actually, we were very, very good friends, and we wanted to put together a business where like-minded people that really enjoy supporting each other go into businesses, and we just help them with all aspects of growing their revenue, growing their people, developing managers, developing leadership, and we just work in the iGaming and sports betting space. So, you've probably all heard of companies like FanDuel, DraftKings. We go into industry companies like that, and we help them in all different growth areas, whatever they need. So, yeah, love to hear from
Perfect.
anybody. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on leadership.
Thank
Um,
you.
now we know where to find you. Um, well, until next time, guys, this was
Yeah,
the Growth Mindset podcast. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.